Simon Constantinides, Regional Head of Global Trade at HSBC. Many thanks for coming in, Simon.
Thank you, John.
The report's obviously quite thick.
Yes.
A lot of effort into that, I imagine, a lot of time.
Yes, it's a lot of work. It is a 15-year forecast broken up into 5, 10, and 15-year increments, which will be adjusted on a continual basis. I think what the data actually is quite broad in terms of spectrum, but it's actually very positive. We're actually quite excited to see that a forecast saying that global trade will pick up sooner than expected, 2014 versus 2015. Certainly the emerging markets are going to be a key driver of that pickup in growth. Asia, we forecast over the next 5 years, as you mentioned, 6.5% growth. We do see China being a very, very strong contributor to that at about 6.7%, and then come 2017, we start to see them up through 2021 at about over 7% growth. And so this is two-way trade, so it's very, very exciting and positive for the region. We have to be obviously mindful of what's going on in Europe, but a lot of good activity that we're seeing.
Interesting there is the mindful of Europe, but I must add again, you're also pointing out that China will overtake the US as the biggest trading nation by 2016. That's the headline, isn't it?
That is one of the headlines, yes. But I think what it is what's actually going to drive growth. And while Europe and the West is a consideration that we'll have to look at, we're actually seeing an awful lot of what we call corridor creators. And that is Asia certainly is looking at new opportunities with Latin America, Middle East, North Africa, and within Asia. And today, out of the 10 largest countries trading with Asia, 8 of them are in Asia, and the only 2 outside of Asia are the US and Germany. The US and Germany are both economic powerhouses and will be strong trade participants going forward. But what's also interesting is actually, I think by 2026, the forecast is saying that China's percentage of world trade will be over 12% versus 9.8% right now. So that is a significant growth when we're talking trade growing $1 trillion year over year.
Interesting that you've got a quote here in the story that the developed markets you're saying will slow. Everybody will have to trade, if not will trade, with China. China is a fulcrum, isn't it?
Yes, our trade confidence index that we also publish really actually analyzes where traders are going to trade. And we're certainly seeing a growth in intermediary products, so bindings for foundries, printing machinery, the tier 2 supply chain participants. So China will certainly be, as well as a finished goods production nation, it will actually be semi-production and semi-finished goods, as well as infrastructure. And we see a lot of internal demand that will be pushed through fiscal stimulus as well. So there's an awful lot of exciting activity. We do see, obviously, the demand for China of commodities, from oil as well as raw materials continuing.
That's quite a big deal, isn't it? Because clearly the price will go up, which becomes inflationary. So iron ore, coal, obviously, oil, all these elements. If China will become the biggest trading nation, then therefore those prices will increase.
Yeah, we've seen iron ore prices come down over the last few months as there was somewhat of a slowness in the steel sector. But yes, but it's also, I think we have to look at what the sustainability is of prices, and prices move. And the index certainly takes all these into consideration in terms of forecasting price movements, currency movements, as well as human capital. So the forecast is very, very comprehensive in the amount of data that it considers.
Which industry, I mentioned in my introduction, clothing, etc., which industry will benefit the most?
Actually, what we're seeing is printing and equipment, and the ancillary parts to those sectors. Electrical equipment for non-fossil fuel energy will certainly be a huge driver, as well as certainly infrastructure-related products, and machinery and equipment, as well as the steel sector.
Simon, thanks for coming in and with the report against Simon there. Constantinides is the head of global trade and also receivables. Thank you very much for coming in.